Karam, Chavez, and DeFilippi. These men have come to Canada with one purpose, to catch the Hawk. Jack Hawksworth has proven an elusive target. 4 times already, he's streaked past the checkers, well in front of his pursuers. But this young Brit is not a jack of all trades. Ovals have not been his cup of tea. And yesterday's storms here in Edmonton sent him reeling out of control. Have the Hawk's feathers been ruffled, or will he soon be flying high again? Star Mazda Championship, part of the Grand Prix of Edmonton. Next up on the Mazda Motorsports Hour. Welcome to Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. The Mazda Motorsports Hour presenting coverage of the Star Mazda Championship, part of the Grand Prix of Edmonton weekend. Hello again, everyone. I'm Rick Benjamin. IndyCar star James Hinchcliffe is alongside. Todd Lewis will have our coverage this weekend on Pit Road. A much nicer day today than what we had here on Saturday of Grand Prix of Edmonton weekend. James, when track conditions and weather conditions change, it can be extremely challenging. Yesterday, man, you guys had to sit through pouring rain.
It was not the best conditions, certainly, and it really challenged these drivers, but that's all part of racing. You're going to get that at every level of the sport.
Now, yesterday morning, things started wet, but teams saw dry conditions prevailing, so they take the reins off, put slicks on for the start of race 1.
And that's going to be important later on. As the track goes green, you can see cars slipping and sliding. Hawksworth, violent turn to the right to try and set up on the outside of Veach there. Track obviously very green because of the rain that we had all through the morning. 4 wide into turn 1, and it looks clean to start, but that's not how it ends.
Whoa, contact early on here. A couple of the Pelfrey cars get into it. Connor DeFilippi in the green and white Junko's 2 car able to do a 360 and get going, but one of his teammates ends up against the tires, and we had Petri Suvanto in the 81 getting taken out there.
Taken out by Stefan Rosinski. Unfortunate, he was actually a local driver here from Edmonton, making one of, I think, only a handful of starts this season, and obviously not the start that he wanted to this race, and Suvanto, the innocent victim there.
Sage Karam, the Comfort Solutions Andretti driver, leading, but we're already getting some moisture on the track, and Hawksworth almost goes off into the grass.
It's catching out a bunch of drivers. As you can see, that is the 15 of Bruno Pala going around, Camilo Schmidt being caught out as well. So the track conditions deteriorating, and it's now a huge handful for these drivers. As Hawksworth nearly clipping the wall side by side with Veach, and this is when it gets interesting.
Guys, here's the first of the competitors making the switch to the wet weather tires. Diego Ferreira involved in that earlier incident. They've decided the rain is hard enough. They're going to make the switch and see if it plays out. Maybe the rain will get a little bit harder. If they're the first to do it, maybe they can take advantage of the track position when others make their stops for wet weather tires.
Diego Ferreira down, and he will take off with the reins. That should be a big advantage. Camilo Schmidt in the 21 fights it, but some others struggling in the wet.
Absolutely. Slick tires on a wet racetrack is never easy, and strategy and pit stop, 2 things that don't normally come into play in Star Mazda, but you see the rain is on the camera. It's falling all over the track. The conditions are just treacherous now, and it looks like the 57 may have actually made the call, and some other guys might start coming in.
Hawksworth, the points leader in the 82, and Zach Veach in the other Andretti car in the wet. You saw that kind of synchronized dirt track move. Here's Ashley Freiberg off into the grass.
Caught out in turn 10, bumpy corner, very bad in the wet. Again, Camilo Schmidt going around, and the full course caution comes out because of the weather.
Now, Schmidt, one of the drivers who did not take rain tires. There's Sage Karam. Looks like he's in great shape here, but Schmidt without stopping.
As we said, strategy not usually something that comes into play here in Star Mazda when it comes to tires. The Andretti Autosport cars pit. Hawksworth decides to stay out on slicks in the wet. You can see how much rain is coming down. Karam looking very calm in the car, though. These Andretti guys are going to be quick on this pit stop. You know that, even though they're not something they normally do. These guys crew on some of the Indy cars sometimes. And that's going to lead about half the field on slicks and half the field on rain tires when we come back to green flag racing.
Hawksworth and Gustavo Menezes, 2 of the Pelfrey teammates, electing to stay on slicks. Here's the green now. Look at him, 4 wide again, 5 wide for a moment on the race.
And remember, the first handful of cars all on slick tires. It's a wet racetrack, and the paint, which Menezes hits here, gets sideways. It all looks good for Hawksworth up to this point.
Yeah, teammates taking each other out, never a good idea.
And that's not the only incident that happened. Right off to the left of the screen, an incident with Ashley Freiberg. and the 20 of Carlos Linares. Not good in Menezes, though he gets going again. He sort of finishes the job right here with an incident in turn 2, absolutely destroying the left-hand side of the car. A bad end to a bad day for young Gustavo, unfortunately.
Now, the rain is falling very hard at this point. This is the first of a doubleheader weekend, the Saturday show at Edmonton. I can't imagine how you could think slicks would work at all in these kinds of conditions.
Well, the flat answer is they didn't, and you see the drivers that switched to the reins really making a charge up through the field, led by this man right here making a pass. It's Sage Karam for Andretti Autosport. He starts slicing his way up through the field after restarting outside the top 10 and gets all the way up to the leader, Camilo Schmidt,
right
in the 21 car right in front of him when the caution comes out for Menezes' wreck. 2 corners later, and he probably would have lost the lead to Karam, but as it happens, the yellow falls, racing stops. He can't even keep the car on the track under caution speed. But unfortunately, that's the race.
Unbelievable outcome here. The caution and the race checkered flagged early. And Camilo Schmidt for Linares Racing comes home your winner in the first of the doubleheader weekend at Edmonton. And Jack Hawksworth had qualified very well third on the day. The 2 Andretti mates on the front row, Karam and Veach. And instead it ends up in a huge upset with Camilo Schmidt, your winner.
And yeah, an unlikely winner, the 16-year-old from Venezuela. He came to Star Mazda straight out of go-karts, but I'll tell you what, it was a huge gamble to stay out on slicks. Hawksworth tried it, Menezes tried it, a bunch of guys tried it, couldn't pull it off. He kept the car on track just long enough.
And we saw a lot of the damage there. One of the Pelfrey cars, Menezes, with that hard hit into the wall. Todd, talk to the winner.
Camilo Schmidt starting 15th, a long way to come, but you survived in the rain.
Camilo, empezaste de número 15, te falta mucho para llegar de primero y le echaste pichón y llegaste de primero. Camilo. Que venías de número 15 y llegaste de primero, le echaste pichón parejo.
Bueno, fue una carrera larga, una carrera emocionante. Pasaba cada piloto en cada vuelta. Sí.
Translate.
It was a very exciting race, very fun. You know, it's one car per lap, passing one car per lap, just having so much fun.
Congratulations.
Felicitaciones.
Camilo Schmidt and his interpreter from the race team there, letting us know how happy he is at the outcome here. Meantime, your teammate, Sage Karam from Andretti Autosport, got to be plenty frustrated with how this one played out.
And I'm actually kind of disgusted. I mean, I really think we had this race. I think that they called the full course yellow and they called the race too early. I think the race should have went to the start finish line. I don't really know what to say. I hate ending races under yellow flag.
He dominated in the dry, was the quickest car in the wet, obviously frustrated to finish second here today, but you do have to give Camilo some credit because after starting 15th, he was up to 5th by lap 5, so some good driving in the dry as well.
And just to be able to hang on to that car in the wet on slicks, very impressive to me. Karam second, Chavez Scuncio, and Tamir your top 5. Back with the second half of the doubleheader weekend in a moment. Our coverage today being brought to you by Mazda, engineered for the few who care about what they drive and the way it makes them feel. Because if it's not worth driving, it's not worth building. Welcome back on the Mazda Motorsports Hour. The sun's shining here at Edmonton, second half of our doubleheader weekend. Much different conditions for our drivers and teams. We're at the halfway point of the 2012 season. The very valuable Star Mazda Championship, part of the Mazda Road to Indy. Jack Hawksworth still in command of this points chase.
And rightfully so on the back of 4 victories up to this point. Second through 5th, though, a very close championship battle indeed. Now, let's take a look at this Edmonton circuit. It is a temporary circuit on some airports. It's 13 turns, and this one is all about these hairpins. Long straightaways into tight hairpins. There's 3 major brake zones, so braking and traction are going to be really big keys here, plus that big rhythm sections through 6 through corner 10. Very difficult to set the car up. It's bumpy here, and let's go straight into the Mazda keys to the race. Our first point today, those 3 brake zones. You got to have the car set up to be very strong in a straight line. The passes are possible off these long straightaways, but then the traction off of those 3 hairpins is equally as important. Trying to set up these passes, you're going to need good drive off the corners. you got to compromise on the setup a little bit. Like I talked about, that rhythm section, corners 6 through 10, it's all fast and flowing. It's not really conducive to the sort of straight line grip you're going to need in the hairpin. So a good compromise setup is going to be key here.
Should be no need for rain tires in the Sunday half of the doubleheader weekend here at Edmonton. Take a look at your starting lineup based on quick laps in the first race. Jack Hawksworth, the points leader on the pole. Gabby Chavez, one of the challengers alongside. Zach Veach and Sage Karam, a little inversion of the way we normally see the Andretti mates.
Yes, and one row back from where they were yesterday and where they'd like to be.
Yesterday's surprise winner, Camilo Schmidt, will start 6th. Ashley Freiberg and Gustavo Menezes will line up 8th and 7th, respectively. Back to row number 5 here at Edmonton. Carlos Linares and Zach Meyer will make up the 5th row. Meyer, one of the Canadians in the field today. Row number 6, Martin Scuncio in the 22, Bruno Pali in the 15. Scuncio, of course, Connor DeFilippi's teammate at Yukos Racing. There's DeFilippi back in 13th, and Ryan Taviter, who had a top 5 finish, his best outing of the season so far Saturday. Ferreira and Blair Robertshaw, one of our Expert Series competitors, will make up row number 8. Andres Mendez, Stefan Radzinski, who got into a turn 1 skirmish yesterday. That's the 9th row here in Edmonton today. And Petri Suvanto, who had a short outing yesterday, he'll start all alone back in row number 10.
And it's heartbreaking for both Petri and Stefan, who didn't get a chance to set a fast lap in race 1, and both guys quick in practice. So let's see what they can do from the back of the grid here today.
We'll ride with Jack Hawksworth today. If you're a Twitter follower, at JackHawk91, if you'd like to follow him. Replay XD onboard looks, of course, from many of these race cars, and we'll take you for a ride with Jack Hawksworth here today. Looking for the lights to go green, getting set to go racing here at Edmonton.
Standing starts are always nerve-wracking. Your pulse is at the highest it's going to be all race long. You're sitting there waiting for those lights to go out. Your foot's on the clutch. Your revs are absolute max as we see the lights start to go on. I'm jealous these guys get to do standing starts. They're so exciting. Revs are up, lights go on, and we wait for the command. Green flag drops, and a good start from Hawksworth.
Your pole sitter, the points leader, trying to move and block, perhaps, moving to his right as they head to turn 1.
And the Andretti Autosport teammates side by side into turn 1. Hawksworth, has the inside covered. Chavez doesn't look like he's going to make it, but it does look like Sage Karam got around his teammate.
Oh, contact. Contact already. The 9 car, Juan Pedrahita, goes around. He's got a wing knock to skew.
And I wouldn't be surprised if there's suspension damage as well. That was a pretty decent hit with a concrete wall. And these Formula cars, they don't like concrete.
No, they certainly don't. Juan Pedrahita, one of the JDC entries, trying to stay on the track and come around to pit road, not lose a lap here. And we're 3 wide into the next corner.
A lot of action down there. Diego Ferreira looking on the inside of Taviter, but doesn't do it. It's so inviting. These hairpins are so easy to just get caught into a lulled sense of security and go for a move that's not going to work.
Sage Karam trying to chase down Gabi Chavez, who's running second at the moment of the 19. This, of course, helps the points leader, Jack Hawksworth, build a lead.
And we know that Sage is motivated. He was angry after the first race on Saturday. He was the quickest guy in the dry, led from pole, quickest guy in the wet, just didn't have enough time to get around Camilo Schmidt. So he's definitely going to be hammered down today.
Zach Veach, impressive early on as well. The other Andretti Autosport teammate, that's the purple and green car you see as we watch Karam go for second.
This really is a strong weekend so far for Andretti Autosport. They locked out the front row in race 1, row 2 in race 2. So these guys are doing a good job as a team. And still some action further down the field as we head into the final corner here, trying to complete lap 1.
Oh, contact! Ryan Taviter gets into Connor DeFilippi in the 2 car. DeFilippi, one of the young drivers, a lot is expected of him. He had been the points, he'd been strong in the points for much of the season, but knocks the nose cone off the 2 car. The shock cover off as well. Here's another look.
Just 2 drivers going over the same piece of real estate. Like I said, these tight hairpins are very inviting, and DeFilippi, that's heartbreaking. Second place man in the points, and we were really looking for him to start coming on strong in the second half, and it's not to be.
So he will have to head to pit road for repairs immediately up front. Meantime, Sage Karam takes second away from Gabi Chavez.
And now Zach Veach smells blood. He wants in, but 3 wide down into turn 5. Diego Ferreira, very late on the brakes. Hey, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. That's still a pretty impressive performance there.
That very tempting inside line, that dive bomb move doesn't usually work.
No, it doesn't. And, he was lucky. That was his teammate he was flirting with there, and we saw what happened with the Pelfrey cars yesterday, so that was a close one.
On board, the Replay XD onboard cameras, Ashley Freiberg trying to move up. She had a difficult day here in the rain yesterday. Tried to catch some speed and move up several positions here. Didn't have a good starting spot in this one. As we watch some of the leaders work their way off the final corner onto the front straightaway, there's Gabi Chavez in third. Let's get an update from Ty Lewis.
Oh, the miserable weekend for Connor DeFilippi continues. The right front wing damage. He puts his hands on his helmet in frustration. The crew trying to make repairs to send him back out. Juan Pedrahita in the 9 machine also along pit road with the rear wing damage.
So a couple of drivers and teams with early contact. A lot of work to do in the early moments here today at Edmonton.
So Connor's going to come out a lap down, and we saw the shock cover must have been damaged because he left the pit lane without it. He's going to rejoin on, third place in line, but obviously a lap down in the last car. That's just not the break he needed.
This is a 17-race championship. A lot at stake for these young drivers. A win earns you that funded ride up into Indy Lights next year, the next step on the Mazda road to Indy. Connor DeFilippi wanting an opportunity like that. Thought he was in great shape to get it. He's won races in this series, but the handling is going to be way off in this car, it appears.
Anytime you have an incident, the car's never going to come back quite the same. So it's going to be a long afternoon for him for lap 1 to now go the rest of the race knowing you're a lap down.
Martin Scuncio in the Pullman Bus 22, up 5 positions, though, in the early going for the Juncos team.
Yeah, it's a great start from him. I mean, he's impressed me a lot this season. He's had some really good races, some really mature races. Obviously, that win at Barber Motorsport Park at the beginning of the year. And, he's one of these guys to definitely look at in the future.
For some of these young drivers, as Jack Hawksworth takes off his first year in the series, it's rare for a young driver to come to Star Mazda and dominate the way Hawksworth has this season.
It is very rare. It's a very special thing that Jack Hawksworth's doing. I think a lot of people are taking notice of him. He's been quick in the wet, quick in the dry. Obviously, the oval races didn't go his way, but if you look back to Iowa, he was actually running very well. He's a quick learner.
Running well here today. Hawksworth, your leader.
Of course, the drivers in the Star Mazda Championship are trying to move up the ladder, but there are others that have been part of the series that have moved up in their careers as well. Kate Gunlock was a quality control engineer for the Star Mazda series for the better part of 3 years. She is now a data acquisition engineer in the IndyCar series. How are you liking this jump so far?
It's a dream come true. This is fabulous. It's absolutely fabulous. I've started off in lower levels of racing, to where you're sleeping at the track at night and you come in and it's just club level stuff. You're working in the dirt, and then to be able to progress up to here and to play with one of these things, it's pretty incredible.
Tell me about some of the things you learned in the Star Mazda Championship and the experience you've taken up to Indy cars.
I really kind of cut my teeth in the Star Mazda series. I've been in that series, involved with that car for about 8 years, and the only way I think that you can learn best is if you screw up, and then you learn from that and you move forward. So thank you to the Mazda series for helping me get through all that mess and figuring things out and taking all that knowledge you get from everything from setting up the tent to people skills to basic engineering and then to development and testing. You pull from that and take it here.
Okay, so now explain to me, what exactly does a data acquisition engineer do in terms of helping this team get better?
Well, we have a number of sensors on the car. In the Star Mazda, we had much less. Here, we just look at everything. You get everything, and you take all that data, process it. You're watching it live to telemetry with this car, so that's a whole new element to the to racing that I haven't worked with before. But you're looking at that. You're working with what Simona's got to say. What a data engineer does, though, is they look at all those sensors, maintain them, make sure they're reading accurately and precisely. If something breaks, you fix it. If the radios aren't working, you fix it. And it's a very on-the-spot kind of thing, especially on pit lane. If telemetry doesn't work, it's a no-show, so you got to get it done.
Congratulations on the leap, and well done.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's something that people don't really think about, the fact that things like mechanics and engineers, they graduate through the ladder just like drivers do. And to move up to a position of, we call them data acquisition geeks or DAGs, rather than data acquisition engineer. That's too many syllables. And no, it's a great way to learn. As she says, cut your teeth in the lower categories and move up. Connor
DeFilippi, our Replay XD onboard look here in the 2 car. Without that shock cover, the arrow is not going to be quite right for him, but he's trying to fight back here.
And at a track with so many long straightaways, it's a huge disadvantage, but he is keeping right up with Zach Veach, who's running in 4th place right now. So he's got the pace to run with the leaders, which probably makes it all the more frustrating that he's not running with them.
Drivers need to learn so many things at this level. If you're going to take that next step up the Mazda road to Indy, being in the right place at the right time, one of those things. Connor's been caught out several times this year.
He has, and I mean, you can call it luck, you can call it whatever you want, but at the end of the day, I think dealing with these difficult situations and the mental maturity that you get from dealing with these situations is what really serves you well. These clearly aren't the results that he wants, as we see a pass being made into turn 1, and a little bit of sideways driving, trying to high-low him there. Camilo Schmidt trying to fight back on Diego Ferreira.
Schmidt in 6th position, trying to follow up his surprise win yesterday with a good day here today.
Right on his gearbox, heading into turn 5. He takes the look.
Ferreira in the 57, the red car on the outside. Schmidt has to lock the brakes, though. That's a 180-degree left-hander.
Very, very late on the brakes was Ferreira. That was actually pretty impressive to keep him behind. Schmidt was well alongside him, so that was a good effort.
Diego Ferreira there in the 57, one of the Team Viso Venezuela drivers. A couple of countrymen there.
Yeah, we got all three. Got a Venezuela sandwich right there. All three of them running nose to tail.
Down into one of the right-handers. And James, one of the things that surprised me so much is the difference in this layout. Now, this is the second year for the Edmonton Grand Prix weekend to be contested over this layout at the City Center Airport. This is so different from the way it used to be.
It really is, and I'll tell you what, the old layout was a lot more fun to drive, but at the end of the day, it was a very fast track, it was very physical, and it was very tough to pass. So in the interest of making it better racing, better racing, more passing, they come up with this new layout, which definitely puts on a better show for the fans. You can see almost the entire track from the grandstands, and it really is a tricky track as well to get right.
Taking a look there, Ashley Freiberg in the True Car Virgin 91 car down one of the straightaways here. Our Replay XD onboard looks letting you see how Ashley sees this race course. And she's another young driver. We watched her a couple of years ago make her debut, run a couple of Star Mazda events. She's learning, and she's trying to make an inside move here.
You know, she's actually having a very good day today. She actually didn't start badly. She started in the 8th position, a good top 10 starting spot, and she's keeping up with these drivers right now that, we've seen running very competitively. So a good level of improvement, I think, over the season from Ashley.
Chasing Bruno Pali, who's been quick at times this year as they fight for 8th and 9th here at Edmonton.
And it's so tough for these drivers. These brake zones, it sounds like a weird thing to say. We have brake zones every racetrack, obviously, but when you have so many where you're going from absolute top speed to some of the slowest corners that we have in the entire circuit, it's a huge challenge, and it's very difficult to do it consistently lap after lap, because when you're aiming to get down to 30 miles an hour sometimes, it's a very small window. And so this is it's a mentally challenging track in a lot of ways, because you've got 3 corners that are like that, very difficult brake zones and very slow corners, and to consistently hit that is not an easy thing to do for an entire race.
Ashley Freiberg using up a lot of racetrack. You can go outside those white lines, but you don't want to be too far outside them. She was way out of bounds there briefly, no penalty for that, but you certainly, you want to use up every inch of racetrack you can. At the same time, you don't want to give up too much ground.
No, certainly, and it's one of the good things about this track is while there are painted lines, the race directors have all said they're more like guidelines. They're going to let you use the track if you need it. It's especially helpful in a passing situation or in an accident avoidance situation as well.
As we watch this battle for position, De Filippi a lap down now because of the early contact. Camilo Schmidt, who won yesterday, the surprise outcome in the rain on the slick tires, only 16, straight out of go-karts, not a championship contender, but getting that first win can really get you over the hump in terms of your confidence.
A lot of times they say that first win just brings a flood of more good results. Like you say, it gives you the confidence, it lets you know you can do it, and obviously it was very unique circumstances yesterday that sort of handed the win to Camilo, but we cannot ignore the fact that he did come from 15th to 5th in dry conditions running against these guys. So for a kid that's come straight out of go-karts, I cannot explain, and the words aren't there to tell you how big of a leap it is to have skipped essentially 2 rungs on the ladder to get straight from go-karts to this point. You're not doing anything in the Skip Barber series, nothing in the F2000 series. This is a massive ask. It's a huge task for a young driver, and we've seen a lot of progress over the years, certainly.
And normally in Star Mazda, it's the 3rd year where you see the big payoff. I mean, usually the first year is kind of get your feet wet. The second year, maybe you start to get some podiums. The 3rd year is when you'd make that championship push, which I think makes Jack Hawksworth's season all the more amazing.
Well, I think what you really have to consider is the driver's age. When you're 16 years old, yes, you absolutely have the time to do 3 years in Star Mazda and follow that exact sort of, program. Learn a little bit year 1, compete for wins and podiums year 2, and really go for the championship year 3. Hawksworth definitely doing a phenomenal job as a rookie, but he's still a very experienced driver, a little bit older, a little bit more mature, so it's not as surprising that he's running up front. How dominant he's been, I think, has been the important key here.
Captain Jack, your leader, the Replay XD onboard look here. He's got a dominant air about him in race number 2 at Edmonton. We'll be right back. Welcome back on the Mazda Motorsports Hour. We're in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, the airport course here, the Grand Prix of Edmonton weekend. A much nicer day today than what we had here on Saturday. Alongside James Hinchcliffe, I'm Rick Benjamin, Todd Lewis with our coverage down on pit road. About halfway through this one, and Jack Hawksworth has been the dominant player. A lot of action further back in the field as we watch Petri Suvanto in the 81. He was a crash victim on Saturday. He and Ashley into the wall again.
Just as we were talking about him, we said it at the top of the show how He did not get a lap in the first race because of contact in corner one, and corner one again here is the is the corner that catches him out. Now, he might get away with that. I've seen these cars hit like that, and maybe even a little bit harder. It's square enough of a hit. He may have knocked the toe out a bit, but he could get away with that.
You can do a lot of damage to half shafts and all sorts of things in the rear of these race cars, but these Star Mazda cars are made to be strong.
Absolutely, and it doesn't seem to have slowed him down. You know, he lost a little bit of time right then and there, but he's not losing Camilo Schmidt right now, and this is a heck of a drive for him coming up from the back of the grid. He's passed a lot of cars right now. He is absolutely flying.
Now, Petri Suvanto following that more traditional course. He's the F2000 champion 1 year ago, takes that funded step into Star Mazda on the Mazda road to Indy, and kind of learning his way around here.
Yeah, and this is exactly what he should be doing. You know, I really have been impressed with Petri this year. As you say, he comes up as the champion. He did it right. He's doing a learning year. He's actually probably learning a lot off his teammate, Jack Hawksworth, right now. It's good to be teammates with the guy that's dominating. You can learn an awful lot from the data and things like that. So a very strong showing here today, though.
11 laps on the board here in the Star Mazda Championship at Edmonton. Stefan Rzadzinski, one of our Canadian runners, making a few appearances this season as we ride with him, sitting 13th right now. Todd Lewis caught up with him earlier to talk about his run here at Edmonton.
Well, if he hasn't been the busiest man in Edmonton this weekend, it's pretty close. Stefan Rzadzinski, or Razzle Dazzle, as he's sometimes referred to as his friends. You've got a booth set up here selling merchandise. You've been on every radio and TV show in town. This is the joy of racing in your hometown, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this is what all the work's been come into, right? It's great. It's great to have all that support here in Edmonton, and obviously I'm a hometown driver, so it's great to see the hometown fans, media, people just all get around me. It's been awesome.
Now, is it a hometown advantage, too, to have that kind of support, or is it a little bit of hometown pressure?
Well, I had my best practice sessions of the year yesterday, so I hope it's an advantage because I've never been that far up the grid, so I can't complain. Hopefully we can turn that into a result this weekend.
Now, you're the only one who's also driven this track prior to yesterday. That's got to be a bit of an advantage.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a little bit of an advantage. I obviously had some experience in that. Last year was a big jump when I was learning the Indy Lights car from a Skip Barber Formula car, so it was a really big jump for me. But I guess you do retain information. You definitely try and make the most of the little advantage you do have, and hopefully I can keep carrying that on this weekend.
Do you keep the advantage to yourself, or do you share it with some of your teammates?
No, I mean, they're all really quick. We're all right on pace. We're within tenths of each other, so at this point, I mean, all these drivers are so good. They've all got it figured out. There's nothing to hide, really.
And the smile on your face says you're having such a good time. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, he's definitely a shining star in Canadian motorsports. He's one of the up-and-comers. You know, it's difficult doing a partial season, certainly, and he jumped in here. He was 4th quickest in the first practice, 3rd quickest in the second practice. So he is, again, another one of these drivers that the more seat time he gets, you see that improvement on track, and hopefully today can bring home a good result after the disappointment of yesterday's race.
Zach Veach trying to take 3rd away here from Gabi Chavez. Chavez in the black and red machine. Veach in the Andretti Autosport car. That's the green and purple entry there. And Zach Veach really starting to show me something as well. A young driver, a lot expected of him. Took him a while to kind of figure his way out around in these cars.
You know, it seems to me it's like his season sort of turned around when we had the oval races. You know, he performed very well at both those oval tracks and had some rough luck and just not super competitive races at the beginning of the season. But now he's really turned it on. And you know, like being on the front row for the race yesterday was terrific. And you know, now he's hounding Gabi Chavez here for a podium position. He is again a very young driver. Another thing that Zach's got figured out better than anybody is the off-track side of it. He understands the being a complete racing driver is a lot more than just being good on track, and he's proving he's got the talent on track, and he's got the field covered absolutely when it comes to the off-track element.
Very active in things like Twitter and Facebook, does a lot of the social media, a lot of the interaction, kind of following your blueprint, I think.
Well, yeah, I guess, yeah, and to a certain extent that's true, you know, and he's done it very well. He's marketed himself very well. He wrote a book at the age of 16. He's been on Oprah. He's part of a non-texting and driving, you know, sort of campaign. So he's very active outside the race car, and that's a super important element these days.
Out of Ohio, young driver trying to work his way around Chavez and pick up a position here. 14 laps around the board, running order top of your screen. Let's get back on board. One of these Replay XD onboard looks from Zach Veach's machine.
And this is coming through, this is into turn 9 right here, one of the slowest non-hairpins on the track. This is a very bumpy turn 10. Watch the cars, they bounce around there. It's tough to hang on. Very physical part of the racetrack right here. This section, again, still very bumpy as we head through turn 12. When it comes onto the newer paved surface, it gets a bit smoother. And again, that sort of goes into the compromise setup I was talking about at the top of the show here. this part of the racetrack is very smooth. That infield section is very bumpy. You got to compromise on things like springs and ride heights, which can be difficult.
One car off. Zach Meyer in the 66 left rear corner sheared off that car.
That's not usually the fastest way to run a car. I'm not quite sure. You don't usually see a corner just disappear off a car like that. He must have clipped the wall coming out of turn 9, but he must have done it pretty hard. Obviously, he's okay, quick to get out of the car, which is important, but very good whack there. Let's see. Oh, maybe another car involved. Side by side with Ashley Freiberg. Locked wheels. Oh, yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it every time. But yeah, very surprising to see the wheel come off like that. It'll be interesting to see if there's any damage on Freiberg's car.
Saw the wheel with the upright still attached to the hub kind of go bouncing down the racetrack, and Meyer able to guide the AIM Autosport car off course from Toronto, from your home area. Young driver kind of learning his way here.
Yeah, I mean, again, though not his hometown, still a Canadian, is right on board with him now. You know, an aggressive move down the inside, up on the curb. You know, it's tough. It was a bold move, but at the same time, he was so close to making it work. He did get fully alongside there. Just one of those racing incidents. Can't really put too much blame on either driver there.
Full course yellow here at Edmonton. Hawksworth will be the restart leader, as Zach Meyer pretty frustrated with the way things have gone for him here today. Hawksworth's out in front. Sage Karam is second. We're past halfway now, and we'll get a restart when we continue on the Mazda Motorsports Hour. Of the top 5, Chavez is third, Zach Beach and Diego Ferreira. We'll be right back. Smiles at Edmonton, the Star Mazda Championship. Mazda Motorsports Hour. Fans enjoying the show, getting set for a restart. After a caution involving Ashley Freiberg, Zach Meyer, heavy damage to his 66 car, went bouncing through the grass, minus a wheel. The car going out on the hook, as you can see, top left of your screen. Back to the paddock area. As we prepare for that start, Jack Hawksworth will lead him to green in just a moment. Our Todd Lewis has caught up with the driver of that 66 car.
Zach, that's a frustrated look on your face. Tell us what happened from your seat.
I went to make the pass, and she blocked, and we hit. And that's it. End of the day. Nothing much more to say, you know? So, sucks. Next time. Thanks.
When you're a young driver, James Hinchcliffe, and you're frustrated with what happens on the racetrack, sometimes the best thing you can say is not very much.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure where the block is that he's talking about. I mean, she left the inside open, and he went for it. So I don't necessarily entirely agree with his outlook on it, but certainly, you know, the reaction or the disappointment is understandable.
Sometimes you just run out of racetrack.
Yeah, I mean, he did try to give her room on the outside. She tried to give him room on the inside. I mean, it's not like either driver had tons on one side of the car or the other to give more. It was two cars going through a tight corner side by side. It's a racing deal.
Lights out on the safety car. Hawksworth, Sage Karam will restart 1 and 2. Connor DeFilippi mid-pack, and the 2 cars still minus that shock cover, and he remains a lap down here as we're late in the going at Edmonton. Coming to the green, Hawksworth will be trying to protect, no doubt. And when you're leading on a restart like this, and you know you've got some hungry drivers behind you, what's going through your mind?
Well, I mean, obviously with the lead he had, the last thing he wanted to see was a yellow. And even more worrying is if there's one guy you don't want to see in your mirrors on a restart, it's going to be Sage Karam, because this is a guy who's going to be able to pull off a pass if it's possible. He's already jumping out of line before Hawksworth accelerates. The green flies now. He goes down to the inside. He's going to have to protect that line. Sage has a little bit of a run. He thinks about deking. He thinks not. That's Scuncio now maybe pulling out on Karam. 3 wide into turn 1.
Hawksworth still with the advantage there in the yellow car. Karam in the red machine. Scuncio on the outside going for second. May have it. No.
See, Hawksworth did a great job there of not overshooting that corner at all, not giving Karam the opportunity to try and do the high-low, the over-under, and get on the inside heading down the straightaway into turn 5, as we do see some side-by-side action here. Look at the lead that Hawksworth pulled out on that straightaway.
Yeah, really. Gabi Chavez trying for third on the inside there. Meantime, they're 3 wide for positions deeper in the field.
Again, on these restarts, these tight hairpins, just so easy to try and put a nose in there and get it wrong, but everybody playing nice. We see Veach has lost a position now. Scuncio up 2. A great restart from him.
Martin Scuncio in that Pullman bus car. He's been very impressive at times. Had that win at Barber early in the year.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Veach in the wall. Turn 9. Oh, and he's around.
Uh-oh, Zach Veach with heavy rear end damage. Wing is broken. Some rear upright damage as well. And the young driver, the 17-year-old from Ohio, pretty frustrated, as you would expect.
Yeah, that's one of those deals as a driver. You know, you're on a restart. You're trying to capitalize. He's having a good day. And, you know, 100% driver error. But these things happen. You know, it's so easy to happen. And you're never more mad in a race car than you are when you make a mistake yourself, as a caution flag comes out once again to go retrieve the 77 car of Zach Veach.
Let's take another look at what happened. Coming through the right-hander, gets a little too wide.
Just cold tires, a little bit on the power too soon. I mean, it's not like he did anything massively wrong. It's just you're working with such a small margin on these temporary road street courses.
A couple of incidents on that same part of the racetrack. One more look at it from the wide angle here, and the heavy hit causes enough rear end damage to cause Zach Veach to go around, breaks the wing, and sends him into the grass, done for the day. Wow.
It's so tough. I mean, I really feel for him. I've been in that position. We've all made that mistake before, and it's, you know, the important thing though is, you know, you chalk it up to experience, you put it behind you, and stick your head down and get ready for the next one.
All right, timed event, full course yellow. Laps are winding down. We'll be right back at Edmonton. Welcome back to Edmonton. Zach Veach, frustrated, out of the safety car, has the helmet off. Crew members talking to him, the K12.com entry. Heavily damaged there, but the 17-year-old will have to work through his frustration.
You know, and I love seeing the support from the team there. They're all giving him a pat on the back. His dad moves in there. It's part of learning. It's part of growing up in a race car. So he's just got to, like I said, put his head down and get over this, because these things happen.
Short turnaround. These teams will be off to Trois-Rivières and Quebec, Canada, with repaired race cars and new hopes. It's just less than a week from now. So you've got to get your thoughts right and get your car ready for the next couple of rounds of the championship here. Before we go green, Todd Lewis downstairs has caught up with a young driver from Ohio.
Zach, another frustrating race for you. Describe what happened out there.
Yeah, you're seeing a lot of me, haven't you? You know, just like I learned in Toronto, I didn't want to make a mistake like I did, and you know, the K12 guys worked hard all weekend. We started second yesterday, started third today, and I had the fastest lap of the race at some points, and I tried to go high to get a little bit of air and just got too far out and got the turn 9 wall again. So, you know, it's frustrating, 2 races in a row, but we go on to 3 Rivers, so we'll see if we can get a better result there. So thank you.
You know, handles himself very well for a young kid. The composure, I mean, we saw how angry he was in the car, but he knows you come out, helmets off, it's a different story. Very, very mature from Zach.
And he knows he was fast here today. Green flag is back in the air. Just a couple of minutes remaining in this timed event. Can Jack Hawksworth hold off this hungry field behind him?
And Jack not defending like he was earlier. He got a very good run off the last corner. Gabby Chavez looking, oh my God, before the first corner.
Gets turned around. Martin Scuncio gets the nose taken off his car.
And it was one of the Team Viso cars. I'm not sure if it was Bruno Pali or if it was Diego Ferreira, but an accident in a straight line before they even get down to the first corner. The 57 car, that is Bruno Pali. No, that's Diego Ferreira, my apologies. And you can see obvious damage on his car, but still going. Man, that was a bizarre accident.
Sure was. Field away. We stay green right now with a lap or 2 remaining here in Edmonton in this timed event. Hawksworth takes big advantage, but there's damage further back.
Yeah, that obvious problem with that car now. He's trying to stay out of everybody's way. That's a case of 2 guys really just not wanting to give an inch this late in the race. We can see them off to the left of your screen. They're 3 wide almost. And then, yes, oh, man, Bruno Pali was lucky he didn't get collected in that as well, and a very tough break for Scuncio.
I think Ferreira may have turned in. Let's take one look from a different angle here. Looked like they just made wheel-to-wheel contact.
You know, it's just it's a case of guys just not giving each other enough room. You know, when you're that close wheel-to-wheel and you can see it, it's going to end up being left front of Ferreira onto the right rear of Scuncio, and so you really have to blame lay a little bit more blame with Ferreira on that one.
And the wing goes under the wheel, locks up the steering, and that's why Scuncio was unable to do much. More contact here, another lockup coming into the last corner.
Oh, Camilo Schmidt tried to go down the inside, having such a good weekend. Ooh, careful re-entry onto the track there, fella.
White flag is in the air over Hawksworth here, and coming up, Sage Karam in second spot.
And he's driving down the inside to avoid any potential debris from that accident. And so Sage is going to get maybe a better run out of here, but I just don't think he's got the gap. He doesn't have the time. It looks like Jack Hawksworth has another race win in the bag.
Captain Jack gunning for his 5th win of the season, hoping to add to the championship lead here as we've just started the second half of the 2012 season.
But with Connor DeFilippi having his problems early in the race, and with Sage Karam having a very strong weekend, what looks to be, knock on wood, 2 second-place finishes, he's really asserted himself as the new championship contender against Jack Hawksworth. He's the guy that, if anybody can at this point, can maybe track down this young Englishman.
Gabby Chavez running in 3rd spot. Another good day for Gabby Chavez, but needs some speed, needs some race wins as well. Hawksworth puts his head down to that Team Pelfrey car. he's been unstoppable pretty much.
You know, but Karam is not letting him get away. That these two have been so close on speed the last few rounds, and you know, Sage had pole in race 1. Jack got it by virtue of the fast lap during the race in race 1. So these guys have been trading back and forth all weekend long. 1 corner left for Hawksworth, down in 2nd gear, 35 miles an hour, 180-degree hairpin, clean acceleration, and he is going to motor his way to the 5th win of the season for young Jack Hawksworth.
Double checkered flags in the air, and your winner is Jack Hawksworth in the Team Pelfrey 82 car. Hawksworth over the stripe. Karam comes home in 2nd. 3rd spot will go to Gabby Chavez today, and that will be your podium here at Edmonton at the Grand Prix of Edmonton. Another great performance for Hawksworth.
It really was, and from Sage Karam. And what I love about Sage is I know if we hear an interview from him, he's going to be disappointed with 2nd place. And I love that fire. It's a good podium. It was a great drive. It was a great weekend. But to leave here with no victories, I know Sage is still going to be upset, burning even brighter and harder to get to Trois-Rivières and try and get a victory.
This is not an easy race course by any stretch of the imagination. The way they've remade Edmonton, the airport authority here requiring different runways to be closed, and that gives you different places you can race. This is a tough place now.
It certainly is, and Jack proved that he could master it.
Jack Hawksworth, your winner. Karam and Chavez round out the podium ahead of Petri Savanto and Gustavo Menezes.
Petri Savanto from the back of the field. Very impressive drive from last year's F2000 champion.
Connor DeFilippi had the early damage championship contender, has to settle for 13th. Not happy with that. Robert Shaw is your expert winner. Scuncio has to take a 15th home. Wow, and in victory lane, out of the race car, climbing up on the cowl is Jack Hawksworth from Great Britain. Wins his 5th of the season in 10 starts this year. A dominant win, flag to flag, for Captain Jack.
And we gave props to Petri Savanto for coming from the back to 4th. Also, hometown boy Stefan Radzinski, he came from the back to finish 6th. An impressive performance there.
Let's take a look at the championship standings after 10 races. Hawksworth now almost 50 points to the good over Chavez. Sage Karam into 3rd.
That top 5 is very close right now, and like I said, Sage really laying it on.
There's an excited Jack Hawksworth. A victory today. How satisfying is it after having one snatched away yesterday?
Yeah, that was some race, and that was unbelievable race. I've never enjoyed racing as much as perhaps this weekend. Yesterday's race, it didn't fall our way. It was such good fun, and then we had such an awesome car. Team Pelfrey put out an absolute beast, and then in the race we obviously gapped to 7 seconds, and then the safety car came out twice, and we had the restarts were made quite difficult for the leader by the point which we were allowed to pull away, and so it made it very, very exciting few last laps, and I was quite nervous, when you lead that much, you have to suddenly re-engage your brain and perform at peak level again for those last few laps after the restart, and yeah, just fantastic. I mean, this car and this team and the results we're getting at the minute are just unbelievable. I'm so happy.
Still off in the distance a bit, but are you thinking a little about the potential of the championship yet?
Yeah, it's always on my mind, to get as many points as possible, and the best way to do that is by winning races. So keep trying to do that.
Thanks, Jack.
Cheers, thank you.
Very engaging young man. I like his personality.
I do. He's got some fire behind him. He's definitely, as you can see, he's enjoying doing it, and he's doing a hell of a job at the same time. So it's good to be Jack Hawksworth.
Sage Karam 2nd at today's event, 3rd to Gabby Chavez. Couple of championship contenders, but Hawksworth looking pretty stout after surviving here at Edmonton.
Yes, certainly. It was a bit of a mayhem from time to time. A few cars caught out, including some guys running for the points championship.
Tough day for Connor DeFilippi and Zach Beach, to be sure. But we congratulate our championship leader, Jack Hawksworth, who picks up his 5th win of the season. I'm Rick Benjamin. We'll talk to you next time.